Alright, what is up, YouTube boxing family? It is K-Rod here, back with another good video for today. I wanted to basically voice my thoughts on Alexander Usyk versus Anthony Joshua that happened this past weekend. I had a really good night watching boxing. Very, very interesting fight per se. But I wasn't really surprised of the result. For those of you that do not know, Alexander Usyk scored a massive unanimous decision blowout victory over Anthony Joshua. It pretty much was like an 8 rounds to 4 or 9 rounds to 3 victory. However people want to split it. It really wasn't a close fight. Anthony Joshua made himself look very vulnerable, and I feel bad being that type of guy to crap on fighters, but I don't see AJ to be like this big top heavyweight that everybody out of the UK tries to say that Anthony Joshua is the best heavyweight on planet Earth. But now it's kind of funny now because a lot of Anthony Joshua, dick riders or fanboys, if you will, they are now jumping ships or jumping the gun to say Alexander Usyk is the greatest fighter in the world, knowing that they don't really realize that Alexander Usyk, was a former undisputed cruiserweight world champion before moving up to heavyweight. So, you're meaning to tell me, as British, Anthony Joshua fans, people that have supported Anthony Joshua for quite a long time, that don't know crap about boxing, automatically destroy Anthony Joshua's fan base, and then you guys just automatically just switch ships to say, oh, well, I'm just with Team Usyk now because Usyk is the better heavyweight, blah blah blah, and he was the better man, and everything else and this and that, so that just makes Usyk like the next great white hope in order to be the next guy to dominate the heavyweight division. And let me talk about Usyk, because a lot of people really need to stop dick riding boxers if you're not so confident to know that this boxer is not going to be the next great fighter coming into a particular division. Because, it's the same problem with Vasyl Lomachenko and Canelo Alvarez and all these, hopeless fighters that I don't really have a lot of respect for. And I'm not to really say Alexander Usyk is a hopeless fighter, because, he came from a very tough background, I will say. And he had to work his way up to get to where he is at now. But I'm not going to sit here and say Alexander Usyk is the greatest fighter ever. Yeah, congratulations. You won all the belts at cruiserweight to become undisputed world champion. But that still doesn't mean that you're the greatest fighter since sliced bread. Alexander Usyk is still how should I say? To a global level, not a lot of people know him, but to a boxing hardcore IQ level, a lot of people do know him. People do understand, he did his thing at cruiserweight, and he accomplished a lot of, featured victories at that division. But, it's not to say Alexander Usyk isn't a good fighter. He can fight very, very well, but the problem is just that Alexander Usyk is just not this type of guy that many would say he's fit and ready to dominate the heavyweight division. And I personally just don't see Usyk being that type of guy to be that next big thing. Because Usyk, he still has a lot of, he still has a lot of growing to do at the heavyweight division. But at the same time, there's still a lot of questions that need to be answered for Usyk's potential to dominate the heavyweight division. And it's not to say Usyk can't do that. He can very well do very well at heavyweight, but this is what I've been saying to other channels that have been talking about it. can Usyk really do well against top-level heavyweights? So, let's talk about the possible opponents that Usyk can face leading or moving forward to the rest of his career. Knowing that he's 34 years old, he's now the unified heavyweight world champion. He has to fight Deontay Wilder or Tyson Fury winner if he wants to, prove his worth at the heavyweight division. I think Usyk has a very good shot of doing so. But the problem is just simply that, can Usyk beat these guys? Well, I guess first things first, let me just say that if Usyk were to fight a guy like Tyson Fury or Deontay Wilder, I'm going to probably have to say Usyk does not beat Deontay Wilder. Not just because I support Deontay Wilder and I like everything that he does in and out the ring, but Deontay Wilder is levels above Alexander Usyk. That's number one, which I'll get to that later, and I'll explain why a Usyk-Wilder matchup might not be the best matchup for Alexander Usyk's career, but we'll get to that later. I think it's more to talk about who can he beat at heavyweight that is a good style matchup for Usyk. So, I'm going to go with at least 5 opponents like I usually do for any, top-level guy that I can have, some respect for or, decent amount of respect. But let's talk about guys like Andy Ruiz. Can Usyk beat a guy like Ruiz? And my, my answer to that would possibly be yes. I think a Andy Ruiz fight would be a possible victory on Usyk's career that could really help him elevate to the next level as a top-level guy. But the problem is that Andy Ruiz is just not this type of fighter that's going to let you, hit him and you're going to get away with some really good shots. So the issue with this matchup is that, if we're looking at it from a stylistic point of view, Andy Ruiz from 2019 could possibly knock out Usyk. But the Andy Ruiz now that, is with Team Canelo, and, he's not like the greatest fighter ever, but, you could see that, he is more resembled to boxing rather than just brawling and using that good pressure style fighting that makes Andy Ruiz the fighter that we know today, or that we used to know. I think that fighter is a lot more deadlier and dangerous for Usyk. Not only just because Usyk, he is a southpaw, and, my philosophy goes pretty best that I believe southpaws run boxing. But here's the problem. Usyk needs to be that type of guy to be tested against a top-level heavyweight that could be considered a very good matchup. So the problem is just that what can Usyk do to provide a better matchup in terms of legacy and resume? And I think some good opponents that Usyk could beat if he were matched up properly at the heavyweight division, leading up to an AJ fight or even after a AJ victory. Let's just say he beats AJ in the rematch, and we can just predict what his next fights would be. I would say Deontay Wilder will most likely be that matchup for Undisputed. But let's just say if Wilder's not on the table and Usyk's going to defend his titles in whatever manner he needs to do it, I think a Andy Ruiz fight would be good to entertain, or a Luis Ortiz fight would be a very difficult fight and deadly fight to get into, but that fight will be the most dangerous and most, greatest fight ever to bring Usyk to that next level of ring dominance. But another good fight I would like is a Charles Martin fight. That would be an amazing fight. I think Charles Martin is still a top heavyweight, knowing that he didn't have a good, outing with Anthony Joshua in the past, knowing that he got knocked out, but still Charles Martin has, redeemed himself in so many ways. He already beat Robert Helenius, or no, not Robert Helenius. Actually, no, I think he did actually, but I'm not too sure about that. but I do know that he beat the crap out of Gerald Washington. So I mean, a Charles Martin type of fight would be amazing for Usyk, especially getting those American top level guys out the way. I think like especially when we're talking about veteran level competition, if Usyk got inside the ring with those guys, that will definitely define legacy for sure. Like all the new guys that are on the come up, like Stephen Shaw, Jared Big Baby Anderson. I think definitely. I wouldn't want to say Otto Wallin, but I don't know. I mean, if you want to add him in there, go for it. But I just don't see like that type of mindset to just I don't know. It's it's too early to call it because it's like all these new heavyweights that are gonna come up. It's gonna be mostly American heavyweights, especially Black American ones. I could definitely see Jared Big Barry Anderson scrapping it up with Jermaine Franklin, Dakari Scott. He's definitely gonna be up there. He's a killer. I like to see Steven Torres. Yep, I can see Steven Torres be matched up extremely well to fight those big names like Otto Wallin, Jared Anderson. Definitely some killers in that division. There's so many options of where the future may go for the heavyweight division. But don't be surprised when you see these new killers on the come up, because what they're doing is just that they're just making themselves a lot better for the future. And I think where we can see the new talent, I can go with guys like Sonny Kanto, who else? Maybe F.A. Ajagba. I can see that happening. I mean, him and Frank Sanchez are going to scrap it up. That's going to be a very deadly, risky fight for both guys. I can't wait to see that fight. That's going to be one of the best fights on the Wilder Fury undercard. I really like to see, honestly, Dakari Scott more. I think he's going to become the next big thing for the heavyweight division. I don't know. There's so much smoke and talent that the heavyweight division has. I don't really know where to go from that. You know what I'm saying? The one heavyweight that I'm not really so sold on yet would be a Fabio Wardley. I think Wardley, he still has a lot of growing to do, and knowing that he's a UK, somewhat hype job fighter, I just don't see Wardley being that good of a fighter yet until he starts facing the top killers at the heavyweight division. So it's going to be very interesting to see where things go, because wherever his career may go, I will definitely look forward to seeing where Wardley is growing within his, career. But as far as that goes, I don't know, man. It's just strange. It's strange how things shake up so fast in the heavyweight division. It's you just don't know what's going to happen. But I think where things are going in today's political landscape in heavyweight boxing, it just so happens to seem more whatever is going to happen with these new lines that are going to come into the heavyweight division. I'll be very surprised of where that new set roster of heavyweights will get will get into. So I don't know. Usyk is a good fighter. Don't don't get it twisted. But do I think Usyk stands a chance against a guy like Luis Ortiz or Andy Ruiz or even Charles Martin, to say the least? I think honestly the only good fighter that I can see Usyk really beating would be Andy Ruiz at best. But all the other guys listed, like Charles Martin, maybe even Robert Helenius, Robert Helenius, I don't think he's that good, but I just think based off of the stylistic matchup, it may suit Usyk a little bit better to get a win over him. But I don't know, man. It's just, it's extremely difficult to determine where, the career of Alexander Usyk will go. And I mean, even if we're going to see undisputed between him and Wilder, it's going to be very difficult for us fans to see where that skill set of Usyk will be scaled off to. Because, like, my only problem with Usyk is that he basically fought, like, not so good heavyweights in order to get up to Anthony Joshua. And I mean, don't get it twisted. Like, Joshua, is a good target for anybody to go after because he seems to be like the most vulnerable heavyweight to be used as food for you to win. And I think, it's good for what Usyk is doing. But do I think that was like a good move in order to get your skills tested and upgraded enough from those type of opponents like Chad Weatherspoon and a Derek Chisora? I would say no. I don't think that was a good move for Usyk. I think Usyk could have done a lot better. And, he didn't really need to fight those guys, Like, I think Usyk deserved a lot more for what he could have done for his career. And I'm pretty sure he knows that. He has, like, a lot of growing to do in his career. And I mean, don't get it twisted, I think Usyk is a tremendous fighter, but it's just like, styles make fights and they always will. But, like, we have to be honest, like, for all you people that are dick riding Alexander Usyk to say, like, oh, he's like the next greatest big thing, these weird ass channels, like, I'll even go with like the racist Mexican channels. They were like hyping Usyk up to be like this next great heavyweight, and I was just kind of shocked. Like, didn't you guys say that Usyk could possibly lose to Anthony Joshua? And a lot of people had Usyk losing to Anthony Joshua, and I just find it really weird that, we live in this world of deception where a lot of people like to lie rather than just be honest about it and, try to pretend as if, like, words don't matter and logic and reason doesn't exist in this world. And I mean, I'm not going to sit here and be hypocritical, but whenever I smell, hypocrisy, I'm not going to, be quiet on it. If you're going to be stupid saying, some very hypocritical shit, then, don't be surprised when I call you out on it, because it's not going to be funny when I do call you out on it, and then you're going to start losing, the argument and making yourself look bad for your own audience. So I just think, like, with all these Usyk fans that were dick riding, or no, like, I would say let the Usyk bandwagons that were once dick riding AJ, that are now dick riding Usyk, shame on you. You guys are idiots. You guys need to stop using fighters, as a bandwagon, manipulation to make yourselves, feel better and look better, to make it seem like you guys have some skin in the game. But at the end of the day, you guys are nothing but, fake ass people. Like, you guys don't care about, about the sport of boxing. You just care that a particular race is dominating a particular division, or I would say particular ethnicity for political control, favors you, psychologically, because, you obviously don't want a particular ethnicity ruling over the sport that, you obviously don't even watch. You're just using, your racist beliefs in the sport to make it seem like you care about it, but at the end of the day, most people really don't care about the sport of boxing. And, it's obviously shown by the people that are ignorant and not really caring about, like, what the sport offers. But, either way, I had fun watching this fight. I thought Anthony Joshua could have done a lot better by applying pressure early. And it just kind of sucked because Anthony Joshua had a lot of openings to make Usyk feel uncomfortable. He could have easily worked Usyk's body a lot more, and it just so happened to just seem to be that type of game where, like, Usyk just had like all the advantages to just walk through AJ, and he just made AJ look like a basic amateur. So I don't know, man. It just didn't feel right to me, and I just thought like what Usyk wasn't able to finish off against AJ. He basically allowed AJ to have his little recovery moment in the fight where he hurts AJ several times in the fight, and AJ had no means to fight anymore when Usyk defeated him psychologically. So I just think like where things were with AJ's mindset coming into this fight, Usyk just took advantage of it and just broke AJ down like a broken record. So I don't know, man. It just felt really bad watching AJ lose, but I wasn't so surprised because like when you pretend as if like you're like the greatest thing since sliced bread, to act like you're like the toughest kid on the block, and then when you finally get tested by somebody's skill set and caliber that makes you feel uncomfortable and you're not able to do the things that you say that you can do off the block, then what does that make you? That obviously makes you a coward, and it turns you into a failure. When you try to pretend that you're like the toughest kid on the block, you keep bullying people 24/7, but then when you get bullied by somebody that is obviously mentally and physically stronger than you, then you don't really have too much of a say to do anything because you make yourself more vulnerable to being defeated more, if you allow yourself to be psychologically defeated. And I think where things are with the state of boxing, when you've been matched up with competition that you believe that are not on your level, and you take the least amount of risk in order to challenge yourself and actually dare yourself to be great like all the other great legends in the sport of boxing, that's where the sport of boxing becomes a falsehood and becomes a long basically a long forgotten memory of hype job fighters and those that are not hype jobs and fighters that are on the coincidentalists that are striving for success. Those guys will be remembered for their hard work and success, but those will be the fighters that will always be hated for the success that that they tried pushing for. So I just truly believe where the sport of boxing lies itself at is just that there's so much political division, where there's so many people that hate fighters that just want to become great, but the fighters that don't want to be great, those fighters will always be praised because it's a political psychopathy that people have with supporting their racial background, and then when it's their tables being turned against them, where certain people of ethnic background want to support their fighters based on who they are for being unapologetically black per se. I'm using that as a good example. Those people are automatically hated because those people are doing their own due diligence to dare to be great, but also stand up for their for their bloodline. Like I'll just say for guys like Deontay Wilder, he is unapologetically black and he cares about everything that black people are, and for I guess like for what he stands up for in his beliefs of being proud of his black heritage. But at the end of the day, people still hate him because he cares about his own heritage, his own people. But when it's like Canelo Alvarez or some white hype job fighter like, Lomachenko, when they stand up for their own people, then their own people, get all the lovely praise, and everyone's, respected and loved, blah blah blah. And like basically everybody knows, like what they do. Like those guys are not, you know, being hated for what they do. More like people like praise them and, romanticize like what they do for their people. But it's like when, when a guy like Deontay Wilder does it, or, let's just say Errol Spence, or, or some other fighters out of the black communities themselves, do the same exact thing of what all the other ethnic, racial groups do, for their own community. Those black fighters always get shitted on, and basically what I'm saying is that it's a racist double standard that has been existing for quite some time in the sport of boxing that definitely needs to go. And it's a disgrace to the sport itself by allowing these racists control the narrative and try to tell people what they can or cannot say based on their racial background itself. And the problem that I really have with the sport alone is that a lot of people are so quiet on particular subjects in the sport, where they don't talk about the racial suppression on particular fighters, like black American fighters, and the political protectionism of white European, or I would just say hopeless fighters in general. So, it's a battle of political protectionism and racist double standards. But either way, in regards to Usyk, I don't really want to say he's a hopeless fighter. He definitely worked hard to get up to where he needed to be. And I think, if he's going to hold up to his word to say that he wants undisputed, I would hope that it's going to be Usyk and Deontay Wilder for undisputed. I truly believe that is what's going to happen. Deontay Wilder is not going to let Tyson Fury just run around, let the ring and try to avoid getting hit by Wilder. I think Wilder is going to knock out Fury cold, if not kill him in the ring. Deontay Wilder said it loud and clear. Shit. I forgot, what's the saying that he says in one of his previous, interviews. He said, what has to, or, shit. What has been told doesn't have to be explained, something like that. But basically, Deontay Wilder knows what Tyson Fury had done to him, and good enough that Deontay Wilder is fully aware that Tyson Fury is going to use every cheating aspect in the book to try to make the fight dirty. But I don't even think Tyson Fury is going to do that. I think Fury is just in for a long ass whooping that's going to probably turn into him getting killed in the ring, or him quitting on the stool, where whatever it may turn into, it's going to be Fury getting brutally stopped by Deontay Wilder, based off of the new style that Tyson Fury is not adjusted to, that Deontay Wilder has worked with Malik King Scott for the past year, ever since Wilder had lost due to cheating by Tyson Fury. So I think where things may go in this fight, it's going to be Deontay Wilder annihilating Fury and getting his get back in blood against Tyson Fury. So hopefully we get to see that. It would be nice to see Wilder and Usyk go at it versus Tyson Fury and Usyk going at it, because, I would be very shocked and very, disappointed if Tyson Fury actually beat Deontay Wilder, but he actually cheated with having, let's just say let the judges favor Tyson Fury over Deontay Wilder. So, that the fight has already been biased by decision, and it has been politically manipulated by people in the governing body itself, like now for the WBC per se, to already have Tyson Fury as their winner, coming into the trilogy. So I would hope that is not there. I would hope that there is fair judging in this fight, which I'm pretty sure Deontay Wilder is going to make sure that the judges don't even have it in their hands. If Deontay Wilder is going to use every trick in the book to hurt Tyson Fury and knock him out viciously and kill him in the ring, because obviously that's what Wilder wants to do, and I truly believe it. He is coming back for blood. He is not there to play around. He's going to show to Tyson Fury what happens when you start, taking, people's lives away and try to make it seem like you actually beat the crap out of them, but you had to cheat in order to get there. I think redemption is here, and yeah, I just can't wait for October the 9th, because we are less than pretty much 2 weeks away after this upcoming week is over. So it'll be very interesting to see. It will be very interesting to see what will happen when Deontay Wilder decapitates Tyson Fury. But credits to Alexander Usyk. He did an amazing job, and I hope there's more to come out of him. I think him and Deontay Wilder will be the biggest fight for Undisputed if that does become a reality. I think I would assume that Tyson Fury is going to lose very hard to Deontay Wilder, so when Deontay Wilder reclaims the WBC belt, I would most likely like to see Deontay Wilder throw that in the trash and just, fight Usyk for Undisputed, get that out the way, and then boom, Deontay Wilder can, claim his Undisputed crown, and Usyk can get his, credibility along with it too. It's going to be really, really fun to see where things go, and, yeah, I will be very, very surprised of where the heavyweight division will shake up in the next coming future. So that's pretty much what I have to say. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know what you guys thought about this fight. Did you think AJ had the same drive coming into this fight, or did you think Usyk just has his number and Alexander Usyk is now just going to dominate what he used to do in the cruiserweight division leading up to the heavyweight division? So yeah, that's pretty much what I have to say. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys later. Thank you. Bye.